Imagine ruling almost all of Europe. Your enemies fear your name. Millions believe you're unstoppable. Then, one rainy morning, everything changes. Not because you forgot how to fight, but because of mud. A single delayed attack, and one army arriving at exactly the wrong moment. Within hours, the greatest military genius of his age would lose everything. This isn't just the story of Napoleon's last battle. It's the story of how one day at Waterloo changed the future of the entire world. 1814. After years of conquering Europe, Napoleon Bonaparte was finally defeated. The Allied armies marched into Paris. The emperor, who had crowned himself king of Europe, was forced into exile on the tiny island of Elba. Most people believed his story was over. They were wrong. Less than a year later, Napoleon escaped. With only a few hundred loyal soldiers, he sailed back to France. The king sent thousands of troops to arrest him. But something unbelievable happened. Instead of shooting him, the soldiers joined him. As Napoleon walked toward them, he opened his coat and shouted, "If any man wishes to kill his emperor, here I am." No one fired. Instead, they cheered. Within weeks, Napoleon reclaimed the throne without fighting a single major battle. Europe was stunned. The greatest comeback in history had begun, but every king in Europe now shared one goal: destroy Napoleon forever. Napoleon knew time was running out. Britain, Prussia, Austria, Russia, they were gathering massive armies from every direction. If they united, France had no chance. So Napoleon made one final gamble. He would strike first. His plan was brilliant. Defeat the British army under the Duke of Wellington before the Prussians could arrive, then destroy the Prussians separately. Classic Napoleon. Divide your enemies. Crush them one by one. For a moment, the plan actually worked. His army crossed into Belgium with lightning speed. He defeated the Prussians at Ligny. The British retreated toward a quiet village called Waterloo. Napoleon believed victory was only one battle away. He had no idea. History was about to betray him. June 18th, 1815, the night before the battle. Heavy rain poured across Belgium. The battlefield became a sea of thick mud. Napoleon faced a painful decision: attack immediately or wait for the ground to dry. He chose to wait, only a few hours, but those few hours changed history. Late that morning, French cannons finally opened fire. Thousands of soldiers advanced through smoke and thunder. Again and again, French infantry charged. Again and again, British lines somehow held. Then came one of history's most famous cavalry attacks. Hundreds of French horsemen thundered across the battlefield. Steel flashed. The earth shook beneath charging horses, but the British formed giant defensive squares. The cavalry circled them again and again, unable to break through. Thousands of horses and riders fell. The battlefield became chaos. Smoke covered everything. Cannons roared. Men fought hand to hand. Victory still seemed possible. Then, Napoleon looked to the east. Dark columns appeared on the horizon. At first, some French soldiers believed they were reinforcements. They weren't. It was the Prussian army. More than 50,000 fresh soldiers were arriving. Exactly what Napoleon had feared. Now France was trapped between two armies. The battle became a nightmare. French units fought desperately on two fronts. Exhaustion replaced confidence. Hope turned into panic. Napoleon made one final desperate move. He sent his legendary Imperial Guard into battle. These were his finest soldiers. They had almost never been defeated. If anyone could save France, it was them. The Guard marched forward through smoke, straight toward Wellington's center. For one breathtaking moment, the world seemed to stop. Then, British soldiers rose from behind the ridge and unleashed devastating volleys. The Imperial Guard staggered. Then, for the first time in history, they broke. The cry spread across the battlefield. "The Guard is retreating!" The impossible had happened. Napoleon's invincible army was collapsing. Within minutes, the entire French line began to flee. Waterloo was lost. One battle, one defeat. An empire shattered forever. Napoleon returned to Paris. This time, there would be no miracle. No dramatic comeback. No loyal army waiting. He abdicated for the second and final time. The British sent him thousands of kilometers away, to the isolated island of St. Helena in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. There was no escape, no return, only silence. 6 years later, the man who once ruled most of Europe died far from the battlefields that made him famous. He was just 51 years old. The Battle of Waterloo lasted only a single day, but its consequences lasted for generations. It ended Napoleon's empire. It reshaped Europe's borders, and it proved that even the greatest military genius in history could fall through a combination of weather, timing, determined opponents, and a single decisive battle. History often remembers great victories, but sometimes the most unforgettable story is the moment a legend finally falls, because empires are not destroyed in centuries. Sometimes they collapse in just one day.